last week we did a what we eat in a day video, and in that video we used a lot of sprouts. So that's something that I've been trying to do better about lately, is to incorporate more sprouts, just because they provide so many vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we need. So it's really easy to get the things that you need with sprouts, because when you sprout something, it like blows up the amount of something that's in it. So like if something has some vitamin C in it, like it's multiplied, that amount of vitamin C is multiplied when you sprout it in some of these cases. So just things like that, like it's way easier to eat a handful of broccoli sprouts and get so much nutrients, and then versus eating, like if it would take 10 pounds of broccoli to make up the same nutrients, I'd rather eat the handful of sprouts. So we've been working on getting more sprouts into our diet, and so that means that I've been growing a lot more sprouts. I'm going to show you some of the things that I use. It's really easy. I feel like sprouting is one of the easiest things that you can do. I was using soil in trays for a while, but I just don't like the soil. Like that was just kind of a headache, so I was trying to get away from that. So all of this is more like hydroponic, just water, and it makes it a lot easier. So the first thing that I have are these trays, and I've got them all out of order here. So this is the bottom part, this is the middle. It's got like a strainer in it, and then you have the lid that sits on top. So this is a really easy way. This would be for more like larger seeds, like beans. If you're sprouting mung beans or something like that, that's what I use these for, because anything smaller would go through the holes. So I'm going to show you how I use these in a little while. But this is the first one. I can link this on Amazon. That's where I got it. I got a pack of 3 for like, I don't know, $16. It wasn't expensive at all. The other thing that I use, these are flour sifters. So it's just got a very fine mesh, and I'll link these on from Amazon as well. That's where I got these. So there's a smaller size, and then the big size, I think, is a 10-inch and an 8-inch, something like that. And you get one in each pack, and it's like $9 for the pack of 2. Not expensive at all. So this is a really easy, inexpensive setup. I feel like sprouting can be done by most people. A lot of people, you'll see, I have these coming too, but you'll see like a quart jar or a half-gallon jar, and it has the lid with a little mesh strainer. You can do that too. Like people grow in old juice cartons and egg cartons, and I mean, use your imagination. It's pretty wild. So I'm going to show you what I do to get started, and then I'm going to kind of give you like a little clip of what I do each day until each thing is mature. So the things that I'm going to start today are mung beans. The kids really like mung beans. They're a quick start. It's only like, 3 days and you can eat them. It doesn't take long at all. I'm going to start some broccoli sprouts, because you probably heard about broccoli sprouts. If you've heard about sprouting, then broccoli sprouts are probably the most popular. I'm also going to do, these are lentils, and I just finished a batch, and they're pretty awesome. I always cooked my lentils before, but sprouting that's really neat because it keeps it raw. And then the other thing that I'm going to start is fenugreek. So when you start sprouting, you want to make sure you have the right seeds, because not all will have the same germination or the same like testing that regular seeds have. I'll leave a link to the shop. I usually order from True Leaf, and True Leaf Market, I think it's called. And I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. But that's what I have. And then the last thing is radish. I'm going to start these two. So each one of these have different rates on when they're ready. I always keep a list of the things that I have and what they're good for, because some have really high vitamin C or iron or calcium, protein, vitamin A and E. So each kind of sprout has different traits. So if you're trying to work on a specific thing, like if you're trying to work on getting more vitamin C, or if you're trying to get more calcium in your diet, things like that, I write this down so that I can look, okay, this is the thing, this is the one that has more iron or more protein or more calcium, whatever. And then a lot of them will have things like fenugreek. It's good for blood cleansing, it's anti-inflammatory, it's good for heart health, manages diabetes and cancer, good for liver health, has protein, calcium, iron, zinc. So that's really cool. One of the things that I started sprouting for recently is leveling out hormone levels. So as you get older, your hormone levels might get out of whack. You might have too much estrogen, you might have too much progesterone, or not enough of something. And so plant estrogens, plant hormones are present, especially in sprouting seeds. And it's one of those things where like our bodies have these receptors. This is like crazy to me. And you can fast forward this if you don't want to know. But our bodies have these receptors, and when they come across things like plant estrogen or plant progesterone, things like that, there's specific sensors in our body or receptors in our body that will take what we need and use those. So if we are low in progesterone, then when you eat some of the sprouts that have progesterone in them, our receptors recognize that and take that progesterone and uses it in our own bodies. So one thing that you don't have to worry about with sprouts is that, you know, if you eat a lot of sprouts that have estrogen in them, your body's not going to take in more than it needs. So it will leave out what it needs, and it'll take what it needs. So that's what I find really interesting. I'll leave a link to a book that I just read about growing your own HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I'm going to get this set up. One of the things that you want to be mindful of is making sure that you start with clean surfaces, making sure you start with clean hands, because you are creating a warm, wet environment that would be perfect for things like E. coli, some bacteria to get out of control. So you just want to keep that in mind. Keeping clean hands when you're working with your sprouts, keeping clean surfaces, and making sure that what you're using has been thoroughly cleaned. Hot water, soap. If you want to completely sanitize, you can do that too. All right, I'm going to get everything washed up, wash my hands, and I'll get started soaking the seeds. I have all the things that I need to start. So I'm going to start by taking the lentils. Depending on what size container you have to grow your seeds in, you'll adjust how many you soak. So I'm going to soak my lentils, or I'm going to grow my lentils in one of the larger bean sprouting trays. So I'm going to start more. I'm going to start a half a cup. And all you do is pour your seeds into a container. This is just a pint mason jar, and then I'm going to pour some filtered water over the top. And they will expand, so just making sure that you have enough water in them for them to expand, and having enough room in the container for them to expand as well. Okay, so that's lentils. I'm going to do the same thing for my mung beans, and I'm going to do a half a cup. I'm growing them in the same container as the lentils. Well, the same type of container. And then I pour water over those. So these are really simple, and each one, there's some that have different ways to grow them. Like some things you don't want to soak before you grow them. So just read the pack, and it tells you really well. So here's the broccoli seeds. These are tiny, and so they're going to go in one of the strainers. And I'm just going to do, I think I'm going to do 3 tablespoons. So I just pour those in my glass jar. These don't take up as much room, so I'm putting them in something smaller. And then pouring the water on top. Each one of these I'm going to soak for 8 to 12 hours, and then we move them to the tray. Here's my radish seeds. I'm going to do the same. These are going to go in a larger, not the larger ones, my mesh strainer, my flour sifter. So 3 tablespoons in there, some water. And then I'm going to start some fenugreek seed, which is a little bit different because fenugreek, you don't actually have to soak it. So it's going to go straight into my washed strainer. I just put a plate underneath to catch any of the excess water. I'm just going to sprinkle these into the sifter. You want to make sure that they have enough room, because as they grow, they're going to take up more room, and once you put water on them, they will expand some. So I try to make sure that they have enough space in there. Okay, so after you put the fenugreek seeds, instead of soaking them, I'm just going to spray them with water and strain it out. So once that is done, I just put a plate underneath and a plate on the top, and that keeps the light out. For the first couple of days, you want to make sure that it stays in the dark. I just keep these on a little wire shelf in my kitchen, and I'm going to show you each day what things look like and how I take care of them. You just rinse them twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And then you want to make sure that you use cool water, not hot water, because like I said, with the E. coli or other bacteria, you want to make sure that you're keeping it cooler. And yeah, so moist, warm conditions, making sure that you don't keep those going. So straining them really well, using cool water instead of warm or hot water is going to be the best. So I'm going to put these on the shelf, and then I'll be back once the others have soaked for 8 to 12 hours. I'll be back and show you how I put those in my pans. All right, I'm back. It's the next morning. It's been about 12 hours, so I'm going to show you how they've expanded. There's our lentils and mung beans. So they've expanded quite a bit. The other seeds, not quite so much. It's hard to see, but they haven't gotten much bigger, but this will help them crack that coat on the outside so that they start sprouting a lot quicker. So I'm going to drain these in my containers. So again, starting with clean hands, clean surface, clean containers, and I'm going to show you how I just drain and rinse them and then put them away. Okay, here's our lentils first. So I'm just going to pour them straight into the strainer. And again, using cool water. So I'm just going to rinse these really well and spread them out. Alright, so once that's done, I'm going to put it in the bottom tray, and then you can put the lid that way. Sometimes I put it this way if I have a lot of things going at the same time, then I can stack them this way. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with my mung beans. Okay, so the same thing. Plop it in the bottom container. I spread them out and then put the lid on. And those two can stack pretty nicely. Either way, they take up a lot more room if you do the lids the other way, but that's how I stack those. Broccoli seeds, I'm going to do it in a large strainer. Same exact thing. Cool water, strain them. And the reason why I do the broccoli seeds in this container is because they are too small in the other, like the bean container. They'll go right through the holes if you put them in the other container. So you want to have something that's a lot finer mesh. Once that's all strained out, I'm going to put them on a plate to catch any of the liquid that might continue to come out, and then I'll put a plate on top to keep them in the dark. Last one is our radish seeds. Alright, so once those are all drained out, there's still a little bit more in there. Once those are drained, put those on a plate, put another plate on top. And then here's our fenugreek that we started 12 hours ago. So once you start something, you want to rinse it at least every 8 to 12 hours. So off the water. Our bathroom renovation is happening right now, so it's quite loud. Day 2 of our sprouts, usually you rinse every 8 to 12 hours. I missed last night because I was absolutely exhausted and I fell asleep at 7:30 on the couch and I got up at 8 and went to bed. Like, that's how exhausted I was. That doesn't usually happen. So I missed rinsing last night, but I'm looking at our sprouts and they don't look like they're too bad. They're still a little moist. They're not completely dried out. This is our radish. So you can see I'm starting to get some little sprouts in there. The fenugreek looks pretty good. There's no sprouting yet. Fenugreek, for me, it's taken probably 5 to 7 days to get my fenugreek going. And then here's my broccoli seeds. You can start to see some of the little green sprouts at the ends. My mung beans are looking good. You can start seeing those are splitting open and sprouting. And then my lentils, they're looking good too. You can start to see them sprouting some too. So I'm going to rinse all of these, and again, I'm going to use cool water, rinse, drain, and then I'm going to put them back on the shelf. So here are my stacks. These, I can get 2 of these to stack together, but then I'll put a plate in between just to keep them in the dark, and also underneath, so if there's any water or moisture that drains out, the plate will catch them. Then my beans and lentils are in here, and I just cover them with a cloth so that no light gets in, and that's it. So all those are packed away. 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours, you rinse again. So I'll be back to rinse those tonight. Today's day 3. And we have some growth. I did water them last night after 12 hours, waited, watered, or rinsed and drained. So this is what they're looking like. These are our radish sprouts, so they're looking really good. Here's our fenugreek. It's all nice and plumped up. We don't have any sprouts yet. That usually start happening either today or tomorrow. Here's our broccoli. So on the broccoli, you might notice some fuzzy things. Broccoli does have hair on the root, so you don't mistake that for mold. It's just hairy roots. So when you water it and it disappears, it's hairy roots. Here's our mung beans. So they are almost ready. You can start eating mung beans when the tails are as long as the actual seed, and these are. So you could actually start eating these. I like these a little bit older, just a day older, I think, and those should be good. And then here are our lentils, and lentils, you can start eating these right away as well. So I'm going to give these a quick rinse, and I'll probably leave them in for 1 more day. The mung beans and the lentils 1 more day, and then harvest those, and I'll show you that process too. But I'm going to water these, or rinse and drain, not just water, but rinse and drain. So again, starting with clean hands and nice cool water. I did want to mention that temperature does matter as far as like harvest dates. My house is really cool, practically cold right now because it's 25 degrees outside, and we have a bathroom renovation happening, and so I have my heat off, and so it's like at least 60, maybe in the 50s in the house right now. And so that's why some of my things are kind of slow to germinate. If your house is warmer, then it's going to be, it's going to be faster if your house is warmer. So once everything's buttoned back up as far as our renovation's going, then mine will actually speed up the growing process. So just wanted to mention that if your times, your days for growing sprouts are different than mine, that's why, because my house is really cold right now. Okay, day 4, here's our radish. Got nice furry roots. So we're gonna rinse that. fenugreek, you can start seeing all the tails. You can start eating it at this point, or you can let it keep going. You can taste it. It changes flavor as it goes, so you can taste it and see it gets less bitter as it goes. Here's our broccoli. And then our larger beans, here are mung beans. So these are ready to harvest. You can see the tails are as long as the actual bean. So you can start eating them then, or you can let them get longer and go to like shoots. So I'm going to show you how I harvest these. And here are our lentils. These look really good too. So I'm going to harvest these and the mung beans, and it's the same thing. So I'm going to show you with these, and then you can do them with the mung beans as well. So the way I harvest things, I rinse them off. I'm going to show you what I do. I put them in this bowl, and then I have this grapefruit seed extract. So if you want to, this is an extra precaution if you're concerned about E. coli or other bacteria, then doing a couple of drops of the grape seed extract, or even like food grade hydrogen peroxide. Okay, I just fill up a bowl with cool, this is filtered water. And then usually about four drops of the grapefruit seed extract. And I'll link this below so that you can get this on Amazon, or I think Publix carries it too. This in the bottom. The roots will have grown through the bottom a little bit, so you might need to kind of work them out. Day 5, I've got to do this quick because I'm going to be late for church if not. Here's our radish. It's kind of sticking out the top, so at this point you can tell that it is yellow. That just means that it hasn't been exposed to sun. So what I usually do at this point, once it's gotten this tall and it's pushing out the top, I'll leave this out uncovered so that it can get a little bit of sunlight, and then it'll turn really green, and then I'll harvest it. Okay, here's our fenugreek. So this looks good. I'm gonna harvest this today too, and I'm gonna do it the same way as the others. I fill the bowl with cool filtered water, put some of the drops in it of the grapefruit seed oil extract, and then just rinse them off and put them in a container. Here's our broccoli. I'm gonna rinse this and let it go for another day or two, it looks like. My broccoli is slow growing, I think because it's been so cool in the house. So I'm gonna rinse this and then harvest the fenugreek and the radish. Good morning, it's day 6, and I didn't end up harvesting anything yesterday. I let the radish sit out and turn green. You can see how much greener it is today than it was yesterday. I just take the plate off and let it be exposed to sunlight, and it starts turning from the yellow color that you saw yesterday to really green. So that's really cool. So I went ahead and harvested it. I did this the same way I did the mung beans. And here's our broccoli. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse these and then leave them out on my countertop for the day and let them green up, and then we'll eat these as well. I'm going to harvest these. So I'm going to show you again what I do. Okay, I forgot to start my video. So I'm doing the broccoli sprouts just like before. So I've got them in water, and we're going to separate the hulls. So you can see how they're floating to the side. They'll kind of separate, so I'll just pour them out, and I'll do this a couple of times until I get a lot of the holes out. I'm not going to get them all out. If I can get a lot out. Okay, good enough. All right. Just kind of squeeze these out just a little bit. Nice crisp broccoli greens. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for joining me and my crazy crew, and I'll see you next time.